Have you ever found yourself wondering if there's, a kind of secret sauce to a long, happy, and, well, truly fulfilling life? Not some magic potion, but something really personal, maybe even ancient, sort of woven into the fabric of a whole culture. Today, we're diving headfirst into a concept that promises pretty much just that: Ikigai.
That's right. It's this Japanese concept, Ikigai, and it offers a really profound kind of answer. Now, it's often translated as the happiness of always being busy, but maybe a better way to think about it is your reason for being, or, the reason you wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
And the idea is it's not something you necessarily create from scratch, but something you sort of uncover deep within yourself.
And here's where it gets really fascinating for us, I think. We're talking about Okinawa, Japan. This isn't just any island. It's actually a designated blue zone, a place famous for having this extraordinary number of centenarians. We're talking 24.55 people, over 100 for every 100,000 inhabitants. I mean, that's way above the global average. And what researchers are finding more and more is that this very idea, Ikigai, isn't just some cultural quirk, but maybe a key to their incredible health and, well, vitality.
Exactly. So our mission in this deep dive today is really to unpack the core principles, some of the surprising insights, actually, from a whole stack of sources on Ikigai. We want to give you, the listener, a kind of shortcut to understanding this wisdom. We'll explore how finding purpose and healthy habits, community, that's a big one, and a certain mindset, all kind of weave together. They create this remarkable blueprint for not just a longer life, but, a more joyful one.
Okay, so let's really dig into what Ikigai means then. When we talk about your reason to get up in the morning, well, it immediately makes you think how different that is from some Western ideas about work, and then, eventually, retirement. Our sources point out something fascinating. There's actually no direct Japanese word for retirement in the sense we usually mean it, just stopping work for good. People in Japan often just keep doing what they love for as long as their health allows. It suggests a life driven by ongoing engagement, not just some finish line.
It's a really compelling contrast, isn't it? And what's particularly interesting here is the parallel with a Western school of psychology called logotherapy. You heard of this, developed by Viktor Frankl. Like Ikigai, logotherapy helps people find their life's purpose, often to confront their internal struggles, their neuroses. But the key difference, maybe, is that logotherapy is quite forward-looking. It actively guides people to discover and then pursue their destiny.
So it's about leaning into the future, finding that path forward, rather than getting, I guess, bogged down dwelling on the past. Frankl himself had some incredibly powerful insights on this, didn't he? Especially given his own experiences.
Absolutely. I mean, his time as a prisoner in Auschwitz really solidified his belief that meaning isn't something you just create out of thin air. It's something you discover. He famously said, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." He saw firsthand that the prisoners who had the best chance of survival were often those who still felt they had something to accomplish, or someone waiting for them, or just a purpose that went beyond their immediate suffering.
That's incredibly powerful, and it must have totally reshaped how he approached therapy afterwards. The sources we looked at share some really impactful case studies from his practice that illustrate this idea. There was the American diplomat, for instance, the one who absolutely hated his job. His previous therapist had him trying to reconcile with some kind of paternal figure to fix things.
Right. But Frankl pretty quickly saw the diplomat's real issue.
Right.
He just wanted a different career path. As simple as that, really. Once he pursued that, he found satisfaction. It was a clear case of, well, a misdiagnosed meaning crisis. Or think about the suicidal mother whose young son had died. She tried to take her own life and her other son's, who was paralyzed, but he actually stopped her.
Oh, that's just heartbreaking. How did Frankl help her find a way forward from that kind of, despair?
Well, he asked her to imagine herself on her deathbed, looking back. And in that hypothetical moment, she realized she had given her paralyzed son a good life, that he was a kind, happy person because of her. She found purpose, real profound meaning in that very suffering. She apparently cried, "My life was full of meaning. I've done my best for my son. My life was no failure." The meaning was already there, you see. She just needed help to reframe her perspective and actually see it. And another case, a grief-stricken doctor who'd lost his wife. Frankl asked him what would have happened if he had died first. The doctor realized his wife would have suffered terribly. So his purpose then became enduring his pain, to spare her that suffering. He found meaning in carrying that burden out of love.
Wow. It really is about shifting your lens, isn't it? Adjusting how you look at things. So if logotherapy is this kind of Western search for purpose, what about Japan's own psychological approach? What insights do we get there?
Okay, That brings us to Morita therapy, developed by Shoma Morita in Japan, actually around the same time as logotherapy. Morita was also a Zen Buddhist, and his therapy definitely has that distinct spiritual influence, which has really shaped Japanese culture in a significant way.
So what's the fundamental difference between Morita therapy and, say, what we might typically expect from Western therapy, which often seems very focused on talking through feelings, analyzing them?
Well, yeah, Western therapy often aims to control or somehow modify emotions, right? Based on the idea that thoughts influence feelings, which then influence actions. Morita therapy, though, takes a pretty different approach. It focuses on accepting emotions, just letting them be, rather than trying to control them. The core belief is that your feelings will naturally change as a result of your actions.
So you don't fight the feeling, you act anyway, regardless of it. That's quite a shift in thinking.
Precisely. There's this fable about a donkey tied to a post that illustrates it perfectly. The donkey keeps circling, trying to get free, but only gets more tangled up. Similarly, people with obsessive thoughts often get more trapped when they try to fight or escape their fears. So the core principles of Morita therapy are basically, 1, accept your feelings like the weather, they just come and go. 2, do what you should be doing, focus on present actions, because your character comes from your deeds, not your feelings. And 3, discover your life's purpose by controlling your actions, not your emotions. Constantly asking, what do we need to be doing right now? What action should we take?
Okay, so the deep insight here maybe is that both logotherapy and Morita therapy, coming from completely different parts of the world, they arrive at a similar critical point. You need to find your Ikigai, your existential fuel, as it were, and then you need the courage and, well, the effort to actually pursue it. It's not about waiting for your feelings to change. It's about acting to change your reality.
Which leads us very naturally to the concept of flow. Once you've identified that purpose, your Ikigai, how do you actually live it? How do you fully immerse yourself in it?
Flow. I love this idea, that feeling where the world just kind of melts away, you know? Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi defined it as that state where you're just completely absorbed in an activity you enjoy, your sense of time disappears, and the experience itself is so enjoyable you just do it for its own sake. We've all felt it, right? Whether you're totally in the zone cooking or lost in a great book, or maybe surfing that perfect wave, and suddenly hours have just vanished.
Exactly. It's the complete opposite of those tasks where minutes feel like hours. The power of flow is that it helps us achieve what he called an optimal experience, and it's really a crucial ingredient in living according to your Ikigai. The research found that flow is pretty universal, actually. It happens across ages, cultures, whether you're in, say, bustling New York or a quiet village in Okinawa.
So, for us listeners, how do we actively invite more of this state into our lives? The source is going to give us 3 key strategies. The first one is choose the right challenge.
Yes, this is crucial. The task needs to be difficult enough to keep you engaged, but not so hard that it just causes anxiety. Think of it like a chart. If a task is too easy, you drift into boredom. If it's too hard, you get anxious. That sweet spot, that narrow channel between them, that's flow. Ernest Hemingway actually captured this really well when he said, "Sometimes I write better than I can." It's that ideal stretch zone where your skills are truly tested, but you're not totally overwhelmed.
That makes perfect sense. Pushing yourself just a little bit outside your comfort zone, but not so far you kind of crash and burn. Okay, the second strategy. Have a clear objective, but focus on the process.
Right. Knowing your overall goal is crucial. Obviously, it gives you direction. But obsessing over that goal while you're doing the task, that's actually counterproductive to flow. Joy Ito, formerly of the MIT Media Lab, he talks about the principle of compass over maps in our increasingly unpredictable world. Basically, having a clear direction is much more important than having a rigid, step-by-step plan. Think about an Olympic athlete. While they're running the race, they're not thinking about the gold medal every second. They're focused on the present moment, the rhythm just flowing through the race. And the deeper insight here, I think, is that just getting started, even with tiny steps, can dissolve that initial anxiety and lead you into flow.
Yeah, that anxiety before starting a big project, it can be totally paralyzing sometimes. It's like Albert Einstein supposedly said, "A happy man is too satisfied with the present to dwell on the future." Just get that first small step going.
Exactly. And then the third strategy, and this is maybe the toughest one in our modern, always-on world, concentrate on a single task.
Oh, this one hits home for me. I mean, it feels almost impossible some days. We're all guilty of multitasking, right? Checking email while trying to listen to something. Then a phone notification pops up. 30 minutes later, you've completely forgotten what that email was even about. It's a constant battle.
It really is. And the scientific evidence is pretty stark.
Hmm.
Studies show multitasking reduces productivity by like at least 60% and can even lower your measurable IQ by over 10 points. It's not just about getting less done, it's literally making us less sharp, less effective. There was a Stanford study using red and blue arrows on a screen, and it clearly showed that habitual multitaskers were easily distracted by irrelevant stuff, unlike those who'd trained their brains to focus. Our brains just aren't built for parallel processing. We're just rapidly switching between tasks, which drains cognitive energy incredibly fast.
Okay, so if we want to reclaim our focus and get back to that flow state more often, what are some practical things we can actually do to fight this modern, epidemic of distraction?
There are quite a few good, actionable tips. Try to avoid screens for the first hour you're awake and the last hour before bed. That's a big one. Turn off your phone or at least use Do Not Disturb mode when you need focused work time. Maybe consider a tech fasting day once a week, like a complete digital detox. Schedule specific times for checking emails and messages rather than being constantly interrupted. The Pomodoro technique, 25 minutes focused work, then a 5-minute break is a really proven way to train your focus muscle. Also, create enjoyable little rituals to start and end tasks, maybe making a special cup of tea before you begin. And crucially, find or create a space that's as distraction-free as possible. The key insight here is really about actively controlling your environment and training your mind, rather than letting your mind be constantly pulled around by external things.
Now, let's look at how this plays out in Japan, where flow seems so incredibly ingrained in the culture. They have these takumis, right?
Yeah,
Master artisans. It just seems like a different level of dedication altogether.
it truly is. The Japanese dedication to craftsmanship is just incredible. It's often summed up by the word gunbaru, which means something like to persevere with grit. You see these takumis at Toyota, for instance, making specific screws by hand, feeling for tiny imperfections others wouldn't notice. Or there's the Kumano makeup brush craftswoman, so absorbed in selecting individual bristles that her movements are described like a dance. Her hands move with such speed and grace. She just embodies flow, this deep connection to the material.
And even someone like Steve Jobs was captivated by this level of commitment, wasn't he? He was reportedly inspired by the simplicity and quality of Japanese porcelain.
Indeed he was. He actually sought out Yukio Shakunaga, a master of a rare technique, who even sourced his own raw materials directly from the earth. Jobs apparently bought many pieces and kept returning, fascinated by the whole fabrication process. This idea of sophisticated simplicity and that deep connection to the source really embodies flow, the artisan becoming one with the object they're creating, like a seamless extension of their purpose.
And who could forget Jiro from Jiro Dreams of Sushi? The sushi master who spent, over 80 years perfecting his craft? It's just mesmerizing to watch.
Jiro and his son, they achieve flow by dedicating themselves completely to the smallest details, to such an extent that an apprentice might spend years just perfecting one specific type of omelet. There's a deep cultural element here too, the Shinto belief of kami, a spirit or god residing in objects. It fosters this profound sense of unity between the artisan and their creation. It's not just making sushi, it becomes almost a sacred act, this continuous quest for perfection.
Another really powerful example is Hayao Miyazaki from Studio Ghibli. He's legendary for his intense commitment, hand-drawing his animations, apparently even working on Sundays.
Yeah, his famous quote, "Please just let me work," perfectly illustrates this point. For those with a really strong Ikigai, retirement just isn't really an option. He announced his retirement back in 2013, I think it was, but literally the very next day, he was back in the studio drawing. The deeper insight there is that for some people, their work is their life source. He simply can't stop. It's his Ikigai.
It sounds like these Ikigai artists, from Einstein playing his violin to Haruki Murakami protecting his writing time by running marathons alone, they're almost like, recluses in a way.
They might appear that way sometimes, yeah. But they're really just fiercely protecting the time and the environment that allows them to achieve flow and ultimately safeguard their happiness. They apply the principles of flow almost to an extreme, sometimes maybe at the expense of more conventional social interactions. They just understand what they personally need for that deep work.
But what about the mundane tasks in our lives? I mean, we can't all be world-renowned artists or scientists. Is there a way to find flow in something as simple as, doing the laundry or washing the dishes?
That's where the idea of microflow comes in. It's about finding enjoyment in those everyday, sometimes boring tasks by adding a layer of complexity or maybe ritual. Think of the Tokyo elevator operator who performs her job with this incredible grace, almost like choreography. Or Bill Gates, who apparently washes dishes every night. following his own specific order, finding relaxation in that ritual. Even the physicist Richard Feynman, a Nobel laureate, he would sometimes paint office walls just to achieve microflow when he needed a mental break from really intense problems. The insight here is that just bringing intention and a touch of ritual can transform even the most routine chores into moments of, well, quiet enjoyment.
That's a great way to reframe routine tasks and honestly, kind of a relief. And speaking of training the mind, meditation seems like a pretty direct path to cultivating flow, doesn't it?
It absolutely is. Meditation helps train the mind to reach flow more quickly. It acts as a really powerful antidote to all those modern distractions we were talking about. Consider the South Korean Olympic archer who won gold back in 1988. She reportedly meditated for 2 hours every single day, considering it the most important part of her training. And the goal isn't necessarily reaching nirvana or anything like that. It's often just about calming the mind, observing your thoughts without judgment, creating what you might call an instant spa right inside your own head.
It really seems like humans are naturally ritualistic beings, aren't we? But while modern society often pushes us towards these vague, grand goals, Japanese culture influenced by Confucianism, Buddhism, Shintoism really seems to value process and ritual itself.
That structure definitely helps in achieving flow. In Japan, the how you work is often considered just as, if not more, important than just the what you produce. This makes finding flow in a ritualistic workplace much easier, I think. Instead of just having a big, daunting goal, breaking it down into smaller, enjoyable rituals helps a lot. The deep insight here is often summarized as rituals over goals. The happiest people aren't necessarily those who achieve the absolute most, but maybe those who spend more time in a state of flow, finding joy in the present moment through these structured, intentional actions.
Okay, so we've explored how Ikigai is your reason for being and how achieving flow helps you truly live that purpose. Now, let's shift gears a bit to the tangible aspects of longevity, drawing from those blue zones, especially Okinawa. And it starts, maybe unsurprisingly, with their diet.
Oh yes, the Okinawa diet. It's legendary for very good reasons. The mortality rate from cardiovascular disease there is the lowest in all Japan. It's really a remarkable blueprint for health, almost a miracle diet in many ways.
And the cornerstone of that diet is hara hachibu, isn't it? That old 80% rule. It sounds so simple, but it seems really profound.
It is simple, yet profound. Hara hachibu basically means stopping eating when you feel about 80% full, rather than completely stuffed. This ancient wisdom, you can actually find it in Buddhist texts from the 12th century, isn't just about cutting calories, though that's part of it. It significantly benefits digestion and also helps reduce levels of IGF-1, which is a protein strongly linked to the aging process. Simple ways you can apply it are, say, skipping dessert sometimes, or just taking slightly smaller portions. The Japanese custom of serving food on many small plates also kind of encourages this naturally. It makes you feel like you're eating a lot, but often leaves you just slightly hungry yet satisfied.
And what does this incredibly healthy diet actually consist of? What are they putting on all those small plates?
Well, Okinawans eat an absolutely incredible variety of foods, about 206 different types regularly.
206. Wow.
Yeah, regularly. And an average about 18 different foods every single day. Their diet is overwhelmingly plant-based, with at least 5 servings of fruits and vegetables daily. They really do eat the rainbow. Grains, especially white rice, are a staple. They rarely eat refined sugar, and if they do, it's usually unprocessed cane sugar. Their salt intake is also remarkably low, around 7 grams per day compared to maybe 12 grams in the rest of Japan.
So fewer calories overall, a huge emphasis on fresh, unprocessed, mostly plant-based foods. Are there any specific Okinawan superfoods that really stand out in the research?
Absolutely. Their diet is packed with about 15 key natural antioxidants. Staples include things like tofu, goya, that's bitter melon, and shikawasa. Shikawasa is this lime-like citrus fruit, and Ogimi, the village of longevity, is actually its largest producer. Get this. It contains 40 times more nobiletin. That's a powerful flavonoid than oranges do. It's thought to protect against arteriosclerosis, cancer, type 2 diabetes, and obesity. The insight here, though, is not just about one magic superfood, but the synergy you get from eating many of them together regularly.
And of course, there's the tea culture. I imagine that plays a pretty significant role, too.
It certainly does. Sanpincha, which is a mix of green tea and jasmine, is probably the most popular infusion there. But green and white teas in general are powerful antioxidants. They help control cholesterol, boost the immune system. White tea specifically is considered one of the most potent natural antioxidants in the world. One cup apparently offers the same powerful punch as about a dozen glasses of orange juice.
Okay, so beyond diet, the research on blue zones also really emphasizes that longevity isn't about intense, punishing exercise regimes. It's more about constant, moderate movement. It's not about training for a marathon. It's more about just moving throughout the day.
Precisely. In Ogimi, those centenarians are always busy doing something. Walking, gardening, playing gate ball, which is kind of like croquet doing karaoke. They just don't sit still for long periods.
Oh.
And what's really concerning for modern society is the danger of prolonged sitting. Your metabolism slows down by about 90% after just 30 minutes of sitting, and your good cholesterol levels drop by 20% after only 2 hours. The powerful insight: just 5 minutes of movement can restart these vital processes. It's really about breaking up those long sedentary periods, not necessarily hitting the gym for an hour straight.
So it's about weaving movement seamlessly into your daily life. What are some of those gentle Eastern disciplines that seem to achieve this balance so effectively?
Yeah, many Eastern practices offer really extraordinary health benefits, and they're suitable for pretty much all ages. There's Radio Taiso, which is this widespread Japanese morning warm-up routine. It's often done in groups, focusing on dynamic stretching and joint mobility. It can be simple things like just raising your arms overhead, but it effectively combats those modern sedentary habits. Then, of course, there's yoga, originally from India, which aims to unite the body and mind. Hatha yoga, which is popular in the West, includes movements like the Sun Salutation series to foster balance and flexibility.
And what about Tai Chi and Qigong? They always look so graceful and flowing.
Yes, Tai Chi. It started as a Chinese martial art, but evolved into a health practice. It emphasizes slow, fluid movements, focusing on agility over brute strength. Its principles include things like looking for stillness in movement, which really shows how an active, deliberate body can lead to a calm mind. And Qigong, often translated as life force work, stimulates respiration and is believed to strengthen your qi or life energy. Scientific studies have actually shown it can improve brain waves, balance hormones, increase circulation, and even boost bone density. The deep insight across all these disciplines, really, is that their well-defined, often repetitive steps make them excellent for achieving flow while also promoting both physical and mental well-being.
Okay, so we've got purpose through Ikigai, achieving flow, intentional movement, and a mindful diet. What about human connection? That seems to be another huge theme that keeps coming up in the Blue Zones research.
It truly is. And that's where the Moai system in Okinawa is so important. These are basically informal groups of people who share common interests. They support each other emotionally and often financially too, especially during hard times. This strong sense of belonging and teamwork, which they call yuimaru, seems absolutely central to their happiness and longevity. It actually originated way back when farmers would share best practices and help each other cope with meager harvests. It reinforces that essential communal bond. The real insight here is that these deep, lifelong social support systems are probably just as vital for health as diet or exercise.
It sounds like a deeply integrated support system, yeah. Almost like a built-in safety net and, well, a joy network, too. And finally, what about attitude and mindset? Do the centenarians generally share a particular outlook on life that we can maybe learn from?
They absolutely do. Having an active, adaptable mind seems crucial for staying young. It stimulates neurons and helps prevent deterioration. So intellectual curiosity, continuous learning, and robust social interaction are really essential anti-aging strategies in themselves. Furthermore, mastering stress is vital. We know chronic stress accelerates aging by damaging healthy cells and weakening telomeres, those protective caps on our chromosomes. Our modern, constant low-level stress is particularly harmful, quite different from the acute, short-lived dangers our ancestors might have faced.
Right. So mindfulness, that practice of focusing on the here and now, seems like a powerful tool to combat this, helping us turn off that mental autopilot of worry and anxiety.
Yes, definitely. And interestingly, some research also suggests that low levels of stress, particularly when they're linked to engaging challenges and purposeful work, might actually lead to healthier habits and longer lives. Many supercentenarians talk about having lived intense, challenging lives and working well into old age. It raises an important question. Is it possible that meaningful challenge, having a purpose that really drives you, is somehow inherently linked to longevity? It kind of shifts our whole perception of stress, doesn't it?
That's a really great point. It makes you rethink the goal of just pursuing a completely stress-free life. And what other attitudes do the Ogimi centenarians typically embody? What's their sort of daily philosophy?
Well, they generally possess this profoundly positive outlook, strong emotional awareness, and a really remarkable serenity or stoicism when facing setbacks. Alexander Image, who lived to 111, noted that the life you live is equally or more important for longevity. The elders in Ogimi themselves offer very direct, simple wisdom. Things like, don't worry, cultivate good habits, like gardening, getting up early, keeping your fingers busy. Nurture your friendships every day through chatting, singing, community involvement. Live an unhurried life, meaning slow down, relax, do one thing at a time, and crucially, be optimistic. Laugh often, celebrate the small things, start the day thinking, today will be full of health and energy. It's about a consistent, intentional daily practice of joy and connection.
These incredible insights are just beautifully summarized in the declaration from the town where people live longest that they apparently have posted in Ogimi. It really ties everything together. Let me read a bit of it. At 80, I am still a child. When I come to see you at 90, send me away to wait until I'm 100. The older, the stronger. Let us not depend too much on our children as we age. If you seek long life and health, you are welcome in our village, where you will be blessed by nature, and together we will discover the secret to longevity.
That declaration just perfectly encapsulates their whole philosophy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Active engagement, strong community, this continuous sense of purpose, all living in harmony with nature. It really is a holistic approach to life itself.
So what does all this mean for you, our listener? We've taken a pretty deep dive today into the Japanese concept of Ikigai. We've seen how it weaves together purpose, dietary wisdom, consistent moderate movement, strong community ties, and this resilient, optimistic mindset, all into a powerful blueprint for longevity and, importantly, joy. The powerful takeaway, I think, is that it's truly about a whole way of living, not just following a rigid set of roles.
Indeed. The lessons from Okinawa and other blue zones really highlight that a long, fulfilling life isn't about chasing immortality or going to extreme measures. It's much more about cultivating those daily habits that feed your soul and your body, finding meaning in the small things, connecting with others, and embracing your own unique reason for being your Ikigai.
So thinking about the deep dive we've taken today, maybe ask yourself this. What small shift in your daily rituals, maybe even starting tomorrow, could open the door to your personal flow and perhaps start you on your own path to a longer, more joyful life?